We always think of the food, the feast. But Thanksgiving is more than that. At the first Thanksgiving, the Pilgrims were thankful for the people who had helped each other through a hard year in a lonely land. This story, by Louisa May Alcott, is about 7 brothers and sisters long ago who helped each other make a very special old-fashioned Thanksgiving. An old-fashioned Thanksgiving.
November had come up among the New Hampshire hills. The crops were in, and barn, buttery, and bin were overflowing with the harvest that rewarded the summer's hard work. Though the sun was hardly up, Farmer Bassett and Eph, the oldest boy, were choring round outside, for Thanksgiving was at hand, and all must be in order on that time-honored day. The big kitchen was a jolly place just now. To and fro from table to hearth bustled buxom Mrs. Bassett, flushed and flowery, but busy and blithe as the queen bee of this busy little hive should be. "It does take a sight of victuals to fill all these hungry stomachs," said Mrs. Bassett, as she gave a vigorous stir to the great kettle of cider applesauce. A white-headed baby lay in the old blue cradle that had rocked 7 other babies, now and then lifting his head to look out. 2 small boys sat on the wooden settle, shelling corn for popping and picking out the biggest nuts from the goodly store their own hands had gathered in October. 4 young girls stood at the long dresser. Tilly, the eldest, was grinding briskly at the mortar, for spices were costly, and not a grain must be wasted. Prue kept time with the chopper. And the twins, Roxy and Rhodey, sliced away at the apples till their little brown arms ached. "I think it's real fun to have Thanksgiving at home," said Tilly. "But I'm sorry Grandma's sick, so we can't go there as usual." "It will be kind of lonesome with only our own folks." "I like to see all the cousins and aunts and have games and sing," cried the twins. "Come, girls, fly round and get your chores done so we can clear away for breakfast just as soon as I clap my bread into the oven." "Here's a man coming up the hill lively," shouted Sol and Seth, running to the door. "Guess it's Gad Hopkins. Pa told him to bring a dozen oranges if they weren't too high." But it was not Gad. It was a stranger who said old Mr. Chadwick told him to tell Mrs. Bassett her mother was failing fast, and she'd better come today, and soon, since it looked like snow. "I couldn't cook nor eat no way now," said Mrs. Bassett. "I'm dreadful sorry, dears, but it can't be helped. We must go right off, Eldad. Hitch up and I'll be ready in less'n no time." "Now, Eph, you must look after the cattle like a man. Keep up the fires, for there's a storm brewing," said Mr. Bassett. "Tilly, have the baked beans and Injun pudding for Thanksgiving dinner, and don't let the boys get at the mince pies or you'll have them down sick. I depend on you, my daughter. Use your judgment, and don't let nothing happen while Mother's away." "Yes'm, yes'm. Goodbye, goodbye." Eph immediately put on his biggest boots and assumed a sober, responsible manner. Tilly tied on her mother's bunch of keys and began to order about the younger girls. But the children were busy, gay, and warm indoors, and never minded the rising gale nor the whirling white storm outside. Eph was off to the barn. And Tilly soon had a great kettle of mush ready, which, with milk warm from the cows, made a wholesome breakfast for the 7 hearty children. "Now, about dinner," cried Tilly. "I can roast a turkey and make a pudding as well as anybody, I guess. The pies are all ready, and if we can't boil vegetables and so on, we don't deserve any dinner." "Did you ever roast a turkey?" asked Roxy. "Should you dares to try," said Rhodey. "Yes, yes," cried all the boys. "Let's have Thanksgiving dinner anyway. Ma won't care, and the good victuals will spoil if they ain't eaten right up." "You will see what I can do. All you children have got to do is to keep out of the way. Why don't you all go out and coast?" Out came the rough sleds, and away trudged the 4 younger Bassetts in the snow, with doughnuts and cheese and a jug of hot cider. While Eph took his fiddle and scraped away to his heart's content in the parlor, Tilly and Prue got out all the spoons, dishes, pots, and pans they could find, so as to have everything handy, as Prue said. "Well, I'll get the pudding off my mind first." Tilly proudly popped it into the pot, though she had forgot to put in both sugar and salt, and had tied it in the cloth so tightly that it had no room to swell. "I don't mind saying to you I'm dreadful dubersome about the turkey," said Tilly. "It's the stuffing that troubles me. He's so awful big, I'm kind of afraid of him. I don't know how much I want nor what sort of yarbs to put in." "Seems to me it's sweet marjoram or summer savory," said Prue. "Then you run and get some up garret while I mash the bread," commanded Tilly. But the garret was darkish, and Prue's little nose was so full of the smell of the onion she had been peeling, she got catnip and wormwood instead. "It doesn't smell just right, but I suppose it will when it's cooked," said Tilly. And Eph helped get all the vegetables ready, for as the cellar was full, the girls thought they would have every sort. After a short rest, they set the table and made all ready. "Don't it look beautiful?" said Prue. "Pretty nice, I think. I wish Ma could see it," began Tilly, when a loud howling startled both girls. 4 small black figures came tearing up the road and burst in, all screaming at once. "The bear! The bear! Eph, get the gun! He's coming! He's coming! I see him looking over the wall!" roared Seth. "Awful big and shaggy," quavered Roxy. Rhodey piped out, "His great paws kept clawing at us! Oh, Eph, don't let him eat us!" "Get out of the way, boys," said Eph. The big brown beast was growling horribly and stopped now and then as if to rest and shake himself. Tilly flew for the axe. "Fire, Eph!" cried Tilly firmly. "Wait till he rears again. I'll get a better shot then." But suddenly, Tilly threw down the axe, flung open the door, and ran straight into the arms of the bear. "It's Gad Hopkins trying to fool us," cried Eph, as the growlings changed to a loud haw-haw. "Oh, Gad, how could you scare us so?" laughed Tilly. "I just meant to give 'em a little scare, but they run like partridges." Gad haw-hawed again. "Come in and sit up to dinner with us," cried Tilly. "Couldn't no ways. My folks will think I'm dead if I don't get along home," since the horse and sleigh had gone ahead empty. "I advise you not to try that again in a hurry, or you'll get shot," said Eph, he rather crestfallen and Gad in high glee. "My sakes alive! The turkey is burnt on one side, and the kettles have boiled over, so the pies I put to warm are all ashes," scolded Tilly. "I couldn't think of victuals when I expected to be eaten alive, could I?" pleaded poor Prue. They were just struggling to get the pudding out of the cloth when Roxy called out, "Here's Pa! There's folks with him," added Rhodey. "I see Aunt Cynthia and Cousin Hetty, and there's Mose and Amos. Pa's bringing 'em all home. Oh, my patience, ain't I glad I got dinner, and don't I hope it will turn out good. Hooray for Pa! Hooray for Thanksgiving!" "Ain't Grandma dead at all?" asked Saul. "Bless your heart, no. It was all a mistake of old Mr. Chadwick's." They set forth their dinner. Sure, everything was perfect. But the first person who tasted the stuffing, it was big Cousin Mose, nearly choked. "Tilly Bassett, whatever made you put wormwood and catnip in your stuffing?" demanded Ma. Tilly looked ready to cry. "But I never seen onions cooked better," declared Aunt Cynthia with her mouth full. "All the vegetables is well done, and the dinner a credit to you, my dears." The pudding was an utter failure, heavy as one of the cannonballs on Squire Duncan's great gate, but the pies were perfect. Dinner was over, and Eph struck up Money Musk on his fiddle. Old and young fell into their places for a dance. Then away they went, heeling and toeing, cutting pigeon wings and taking their steps, till fat Aunt Cynthia fell into a chair, declaring that a very little of such exercise was enough for a woman of her heft. After a grand kissing all round, the guests drove away in the clear moonlight, which came just in time to cheer their long drive. Mr. Bassett said soberly as they stood together on the hearth, "Children, we have a special cause to be thankful that the sorrow we expected was changed into joy. So we'll read a chapter before we go to bed and give thanks where thanks is due." When the good nights were over and the children in bed, Prue put her arm around Tilly, sure she was crying. The laughter Tilly was trying to smother broke out then. "I was mad about the mistakes, but I don't care enough to cry. I'm laughing to think how Gad fooled F, and I found him out." "It was real mean to frighten the little ones so," laughed Prue. Tilly gave a growl. "Girls, go to sleep immediate or you'll wake the baby." "Yes'm," answered two meek voices. Silence reigned, broken only by the soft scurry of mice in the buttery, taking their part in this old-fashioned Thanksgiving.